On my 30th birthday, my parents handed me a packed suitcase and told me to leave. No warning. No thank you for the 8 years I'd paid their bills, covered their mortgage, kept their lights on. Just a cold dismissal. You're too old to freeload. But here's what they didn't know. Every payment I'd made had left a paper trail. Every sacrifice had been documented. Every lie they'd told themselves about my debt to them was about to unravel. Because the worst mistake they made wasn't kicking me out. It was underestimating what I'd do when I finally stopped apologizing for saving myself. Before we dive into how I took back my life, let me take you back to the night it all began. The birthday that ended everything and started something they never saw coming. The October sun was bleeding out behind the Ridgeway, Ohio skyline when I pulled into the cracked driveway of 428 Maple Street. I grabbed the white bakery box from the passenger seat, $15 for a grocery store cake with happy birthday, misspelled in red icing. Mia instead of Mia. I hadn't bothered to correct the tired teenager behind the counter. At 30 years old, I'd stopped expecting my parents to remember my birthday. But I'd at least expected to wake up in my own bed tomorrow morning. The house smelled like every Wednesday of my childhood. Meatloaf, canned green beans, and Donald Brooks's whiskey. My father sat at the head of the kitchen table, glass already half empty. My mother, Patricia, stood at the stove with her back to me, shoulders hunched in that familiar way. "You're late." Don's voice was cold, rehearsed. "Worked late, had to finish some reports." I set the cake on the counter, the bag crinkling too loud in the silence. No happy birthday, no acknowledgement. Just the mechanical rhythm of dinner, knives scraping plates, the clink of glasses, forced coughs cutting through the tension. Halfway through his meatloaf, my father slammed down his fork hard enough to make my mother flinch. "You're too old to be freeloading." His voice was granite. "It's time you left." The words hung in the air, surreal and sharp. "I pay the internet bill," I said carefully, setting down my own fork. "The electric bill, half the mortgage, groceries. I paid for the new water heater last month." "Paying a few bills doesn't buy you a lifetime stay, princess." The nickname, the one he used when I was little, when I'd climb into his lap with scraped knees, was now a weapon. I looked at my mother, desperate for contradiction, but Pat kept her eyes down, lips pressed bloodless. She'd known this was coming. "Got it?" I said, standing. The chair scraped against linoleum. "I'll be out by tomorrow." I walked upstairs, leaving the cake behind. Each step felt final. My childhood bedroom looked frozen in time. Pale blue walls, white IKEA furniture, posters from high school. But my suitcase was already packed. I stood in the doorway, staring at it. Some part of me had known this was coming. In the back of my closet, I found a shoebox of family photographs. On top, my 10th birthday. All of us smiling at the kitchen table. Beneath it, torn photos. Ripped cleanly in half, my image severed from theirs. My 13th birthday. Easter. Thanksgiving. All destroyed. I dug deeper and found a trash bag stuffed behind my winter coats. Inside, more torn photos, old birthday cards I'd made them. A Father's Day card from when I was 8 with "I love you, Daddy" in crayon. He'd been up here, packing my things, erasing me before he'd even told me I was being erased. The numbness cracked. Something colder rushed in. I sat on the bed and opened my laptop. The screen glowed blue-white as I logged into my accounts. Downstairs, I could hear the television, a laugh track from whatever show they were watching, as if nothing had happened. First, the electric bill. I'd been the primary account holder since the winter 4 years ago when Dawn forgot to pay and we went 2 days without heat in January. I deleted my payment information. Disabled autopay. Next, water, gas, internet, cable. All in my name, all canceled. Cell phone plan. I was primary on the family plan. I removed their lines. The joint checking account was trickier. I couldn't close it without my mother's signature, but I could transfer my funds. I moved everything to my private account, the one I'd opened 6 months ago when that tiny voice inside warned me this day would come. Transfer complete. Balance, $0. Auto insurance. Their vehicles on my policy to save money. I removed both. As I worked through the accounts, I noticed charges I didn't recognize. Premium cable packages I'd never authorized, subscription boxes. Then I found it. A bank statement that had downloaded automatically. A deposit to an account in my mother's name. $15,000, 3 months ago. Memo. Inheritance. I stared at the screen. My grandmother had died last year. I'd known there was money, but Mom never mentioned the amount. I screenshot the statement and kept digging. 2 months ago, withdrawal of $15,000. Memo. Transfer. Where did it go? I closed the laptop and grabbed my suitcase. On the way out, I moved the birthday cake from the counter to the refrigerator and stuck a note on top. Thanks for everything. Morning light barely touched the cracked driveway as I loaded my car. My father watched from the living room window. Didn't help. Didn't speak. The front door opened. My mother appeared, moving quickly, nervously. She pressed an envelope into my hands. Mia, She glanced back at the house. I'm sorry for what's coming. What's coming? But she was already retreating inside. I opened the envelope. Inside, an old photo of us at my college graduation, both smiling, and a note in her handwriting. I tried to help you escape. He found out. Be careful. Mia? I turned. Tom Reynolds, our neighbor, stood at the property line. At 62, Tom was one of those quiet types who noticed everything. Your mother came to see me last week, he said, voice low. Asked me to look out for you. Said something wasn't right, that she was worried. He paused. I don't know what's going on, but if you need anything. Thank you, I managed. I got in my car and drove to Riley's. Riley Thompson met me at the door of her third-floor apartment, wine already poured. She'd been my best friend since college, a nurse with dark humor and her own history of escaping toxic family. You look surprisingly calm for someone who just got evicted on their birthday, she said. I'm very good at compartmentalizing. That's called dissociation, babe. I collapsed on her couch and told her everything. The eviction, the torn photos, the canceled accounts. Riley's expression darkened. They've been planning this. Apparently. What did you do? I told her about the utilities, the insurance, the accounts. She started laughing, not mean, but satisfied. They're going to wake up and their entire life will be shut off. Seems fair. But you know this isn't over. Riley refilled my glass. They're going to call. They're going to guilt you. I know. And I've spent 30 years feeling guilty for not being enough. I met her eyes. I'm done. Riley squeezed my hand. Good. It's about damn time. I called Dr. Fletcher, your therapist. She has an opening tomorrow if you want it. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Then again, and again. 12 missed calls by morning. 23 texts. Dad, 5:47 a.m. What did you do to the phones? Mom, 6:12 a.m. Honey, there must be some mistake with the electric bill. Can you call them? Dad, 7:02 a.m. You think you won? Family always gets the last word. Mom, 8:34 a.m. Please, honey, you wouldn't just leave us like this. We can fix whatever's wrong. We're family. Then a text from Jake Brooks, my cousin. Dad's raging. Says you stole from them. I don't believe it. Can we talk? And finally, an unknown number. Your father owes money to the wrong people. You're in danger. I screenshot the message and tried calling back. It rang once, then disconnected. Who was that? Riley asked. I don't know. The next afternoon, I met Jake at Nell's diner. He was already there, 2 coffees waiting. At 28, Jake looked like a younger, softer version of my father. Same build, same jaw, but without the hard edge that alcohol and resentment had carved into Don's face. Thanks for coming, he said. Thanks for not ambushing me with the whole family. We stirred our coffees in awkward silence. Uncle Don says you abandoned them, Jake said finally. That you're vindictive, that they're going to lose the house. And you believe him? I didn't say that. He pulled out his phone. I said that's what he told my dad, but something's off. He seemed panicked, more than usual. He should be. Why? I took a breath. For 8 years, I've paid their bills. Not contributed. Paid. Electric, water, gas, internet, half the mortgage, everything. And last night, your uncle kicked me out on my birthday, told me I was freeloading. Jake's expression shifted. That doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense if you realize they never saw it as support. They saw it as what I owed them. Did you really cut off all their services? I canceled services in my name. That's not stealing. That's stopping paying for people who don't want me around. Jake was quiet, drumming his fingers on the table, his nervous tell. Mia, I need to tell you something. Last week, I was working on Uncle Don's truck. Oil change, routine stuff. He left papers in this cab. He paused. Loan documents. My stomach dropped. What kind? $45,000 from some financial services company. He showed me a photo on his phone. The loan is in your name. The diner tilted. What? Your name, your social security number. But I know you didn't sign it because that's not your signature. He was right. The signature was close, but wrong. Forged. When was this taken out? 6 months ago. First payment due last month. 6 months. Right when my father started picking more fights, being more critical. Do you still have the documents? I took pictures. He texted them to me. Loan agreement, payment schedule, terms, all with my forged signature. Where did the money go? That's what I hoped you'd know. He shifted uncomfortably. Mia, I've been noticing things. He's been secretive, and last week I saw him meeting guys in the parking lot behind the hardware store. They didn't look friendly. The unknown text flashed through my mind. Your father owes money to the wrong people. What kind of guys? The kind you don't want to owe money to. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. Is this Mia Brooks? A woman's voice, professional. Yes. This is Jennifer from Columbia Financial Services. You're 30 days past due on your loan payment of $847. I don't have a loan with you. Our records show a personal loan in your name for $45,000. I never signed anything. That's identity theft. Pause. If you're claiming fraud, you'll need to file a police report. In the meantime, the payment is still due. Then you'll have to take collection action, because I'm not paying for something I didn't do. I hung up. Jake stared at me. You're really going to fight this? What choice do I have? He's still your dad. Is he? That evening, I met Vanessa Kim at a coffee shop downtown. She was a coworker at the data analytics firm where I worked, sharp, practical, with a law degree she'd gotten before switching to tech. I spread out the documents, bank statements, utility bills, the forged loan Jake had sent me. Vanessa studied everything with a lawyer's precision. This is identity theft, forgery, potentially wire fraud. Can I prove it? The signature analysis alone would do it, but there's more. She pulled up something on her laptop. I did some preliminary research. Your father took out a second mortgage on the house using your income information. Did you authorize that? No. Then that's another count of fraud. She leaned back. Mia, if you report this, your father could face federal charges. The word federal hung heavy. What if... I hesitated. What if there's a reason? What if he was desperate? Vanessa's expression softened. There's no reason good enough to steal your child's identity. None. My phone buzzed. My mother, please come home. We need to talk. This has been a terrible misunderstanding. Don't respond, Vanessa said. That's manipulation. They're in trouble, so now it's all a misunderstanding. Another text from the unknown number. Check your mother's bank account, the one she thinks your father doesn't know about. I pulled up my mother's bank on my laptop. I'd found it by accident 2 years ago. Her password was still the same. Account balance, $362.47. I scrolled through transactions. 3 months ago, deposit $15,000. Memo, inheritance, mom. 2 months ago, withdrawal $15,000. Memo, transfer. Last week, withdrawal $362.47. Memo, cash. It's all gone, I whispered. Vanessa looked over my shoulder. He took her inheritance too. I texted Jake. Did you know about my grandmother's inheritance? Jake. Aunt Pat mentioned it. About 15,000. Why? Me. It's gone. All of it. Jake. Jesus. That night back at Riley's, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. My father had forged a loan in my name. Used it for something. Gambling? Debts? I didn't know. When that ran out, he took my mother's inheritance. When that ran out, he kicked me out, right before the loan payment came due. I wasn't collateral damage. I was the plan. My phone lit up. Mia, it's Mom. I gave you money to help you escape, in the envelope. He found out I was trying to help you. That's why he did this. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. I grabbed my jacket from where I'd tossed it and dug through the pockets. Found the envelope my mother had given me. Behind the photo, a folded cashier's check for $5,000, dated a week before my eviction. On the back, in her handwriting, I should have protected you. I'm sorry I waited so long. I sat in the dark, holding the check, and let myself feel everything I'd been pushing down. The betrayal, the anger, the grief for a family that had never really existed. Tomorrow, I'd see Dr. Fletcher. Tomorrow, I'd figure out what to do with all this evidence. But tonight, I just let myself break. Diane Fletcher's office was in a converted Victorian on the edge of downtown, all warm lighting and comfortable chairs designed to make you forget you were about to unpack trauma. I sat across from her, the folder of evidence on my lap. "Tell me what happened," she said. I told her everything: the eviction, the forged loan, my mother's stolen inheritance, the mysterious text warnings. Diane listened without interrupting, her expression neutral but attentive. "How do you feel about all this?" she asked when I finished. "I don't know. Angry, betrayed, but also—" I hesitated. "Guilty. Guilty for what?" "For fighting back. For not just absorbing it like I always have. Mia, what you're describing is financial abuse. It's a form of domestic violence, using money to control, manipulate, and exploit. Your father didn't just take advantage of you. He committed crimes. He's still my father." "Is he?" It was the second time someone had asked me that. "Because fathers protect their children. They don't steal their identities and forge loans in their names." I was quiet. "Let me ask you something," Diane continued. "What if your mother is also a victim? What if she's been trapped in this pattern too? The envelope, the check. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." "Then why didn't she leave? Why didn't you leave sooner?" The question hit hard, because I knew the answer. Fear, obligation, the slow erosion of boundaries until you can't remember where you end and they begin. "So what do I do?" "That's not for me to decide, but I can tell you this. Choosing yourself isn't betrayal. It's survival." I left out Dr. Fletcher's office and drove to the police station. Inside, I asked for someone who handled fraud cases. They directed me to Detective Sarah Morrison, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. I laid out everything: the forged loan, the second mortgage, the identity theft. She reviewed the documents carefully. "This is serious. Federal level. Have you confronted your father about this?" "No." "Good. Don't. If he knows you're aware, he might destroy evidence." She paused. "I need to be clear about what happens if you file this report. We'll investigate. If we find probable cause, we'll press charges. Your father could face prison time." "Prison. Can I think about it?" "Of course. But don't wait too long. Every day that passes, he could be covering his tracks." I drove back to Riley's in a daze. As I pulled into her parking lot, my phone rang. My mother. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mia?" Her voice was wrecked. "The electricity just got shut off. The water, too. Your father he's losing his mind. Please, can we talk? Can you just come home for an hour?" "Mom, please, I know you're angry, but we're a family. We can work this out." I closed my eyes. "Did you know about the loan?" Silence. "Mom, did you know Dad took out a loan in my name?" I found the papers last month. I confronted him. That's when..." Her voice broke. That's when he said we needed to make you leave, so you wouldn't find out. Everything crystallized in that moment. The eviction timing, the packed suitcase, the cruelty of doing it on my birthday. It wasn't anger. It wasn't some parenting philosophy about independence. It was a cover-up. Mia, please. Your father, he's going to hurt me if you don't. Call the police, Mom. If he's threatening you, call the police. I can't. He's my husband. We made vows. And he's a criminal. He stole my identity, forged my signature, and when you tried to help me escape with Grandma's money, he took that too. She was crying now, hard. Please don't do this. Please don't tear this family apart. I'm not the one who tore it apart. My voice was steady, cold. He did. Years ago. You just chose not to see it. I hung up. Riley was standing in the doorway when I got upstairs. You okay? No. I handed her my phone. But I will be. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, watching shadows move across the ceiling, thinking about choices. My father had made his. My mother had made hers. Now it was time to make mine. At 3 a.m., I pulled out my laptop and started writing. Not an email, not a text, a formal complaint. I attached every piece of evidence, the forged loan documents, bank statements, my documented years of payments, screenshots of my mother's drained inheritance account, records of the second mortgage taken in my name. I wrote down every detail I could remember, every instance of financial manipulation, every time they'd made me feel like I owed them something for the crime of being born. By dawn, it was done. I attached it to an email addressed to Detective Morrison. My finger hovered over send. This was it, the point of no return. Once I sent this, there was no taking it back. No reconciliation. No happy family holidays. But there had never been happy family holidays. That was the fantasy I'd been clinging to. I pressed send. The email confirmation sat in my inbox like a loaded gun. Your report has been received. Detective Morrison will contact you within 24 to 48 hours. I closed my laptop and stared at Riley's living room wall, waiting to feel something. Relief, satisfaction, anything. Instead, I felt hollow. You did the right thing, Riley said from the kitchen doorway. She'd been up all night with me, a silent witness to my crisis of conscience. Then why does it feel like I just destroyed my family? Because they taught you that protecting yourself was the same as hurting them. It's not. My phone started ringing. My father. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. My mother. Declined. Then a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mia Brooks? A man's voice, warm and slightly theatrical. This is Pastor Michael Green from Ridgeway Community Church. Your parents attend our congregation. I know who you are. Good, good. Listen, your father reached out to me this morning. He's very distressed about the situation between you all. I was hoping we could arrange a family meeting at the church. Sometimes these conflicts just need a neutral mediator to help everyone see reason. A meeting? Yes. Tomorrow evening? I really think it would help if we could all sit down together like adults and work through this misunderstanding. I almost laughed. Misunderstanding. Well, yes. Your father explained that there's been some confusion about finances, and did he explain the part where he forged my signature on a $45,000 loan? Silence. Then, I'm sure there is another explanation for that. Family disputes often involve miscommunication. Pastor Green, with all due respect, this isn't a dispute. This is fraud, and I've reported it to the police. The police? His voice sharpened. Mia, surely that's extreme. You can't seriously be considering pressing charges against your own father. I already have. But he's your father. The Bible is very clear about honoring. Does the Bible say anything about parents stealing from their children? Another pause. I think you need to pray about this. Search your heart. Ask yourself if this is really what God wants. What I need, I said, voice steady, is for my family to stop committing crimes. If God has an opinion on that, I'm listening, but I'm not coming to any meeting. I hung up before he could respond. Riley was grinning. That was badass. That was me burning bridges. Bridges that should have been burned years ago. The next morning, I got a text from Jake. Family meeting at Pastor Green's tonight, 7 p.m. Dad's demanding you show up. Said he'll set the record straight. Me, I'm not going. Jake, figured. Just FYI. Aunt Linda and Uncle Bob will be there. Mom's sister, too. He's gathering witnesses. Me, for what? Jake, to prove you're the villain. Be careful. I showed Riley the texts. He's building a narrative, she said. Classic abuser move. Control the story before the truth gets out. Should I go? Absolutely not. That's a trap. He wants you there so he can manipulate you in front of an audience. But part of me wanted to face them, to stand in that room and make them look at what they'd done. What if I bring evidence? I said slowly. What if I go, but I'm prepared? Riley studied me. If you're going to do this, you don't go alone. I'm coming. And bring Vanessa if she's available. You need witnesses of your own. Ridgeway Community Church was one of those modern buildings trying to look traditional. Fake brick, a steeple that seemed more decorative than functional, inspirational quotes on a digital marquee. Pastor Green met us in the parking lot, his smile not quite reaching his eyes when he saw I'd brought Riley and Vanessa. I was hoping this could be just family, he said. They are family, I replied. The kind that actually shows up. Inside, a small conference room had been arranged like an intervention. My father sat at the head of the table. Where else? My mother beside him, eyes red and swollen. Aunt Linda and Uncle Bob on one side, my mother's sister Diane on the other. Jake stood in the corner, arms crossed, looking uncomfortable. Every head turned when I walked in. Mia. My father's voice was controlled, almost gentle. A performance. Thank you for coming. I know things have been difficult. Let's skip the part where you pretend this is a misunderstanding, I said, taking a seat across from him. Riley and Vanessa flanked me. You asked for this meeting, so talk. Pastor Green cleared his throat. Perhaps we should start with prayer. No. I kept my eyes on my father. Talk. Don's jaw tightened, the mask slipping. Fine. You want to do this here? In front of everyone? He gestured around the table. My daughter has decided to destroy this family over a simple disagreement about household finances. Disagreement. I pulled out my folder. Is that what we're calling identity theft now? I slid copies of the forged loan documents across the table. These are loan papers in my name with a forged signature. $45,000. Taken out 6 months ago without my knowledge or consent. My father barely glanced at them. That's a misunderstanding. You said I could use your credit. I never said that. I never signed anything. The signature isn't even close to mine. Aunt Linda picked up one of the papers, squinting at it. Don, this doesn't look like Mia's signature. It's close enough, he snapped. She has terrible handwriting anyway. Actually, Vanessa spoke up. I had a forensic document examiner look at these. The signature is definitively not Mia's. It's a forgery. That's a federal crime. The room went silent. Federal? My mother's voice was barely a whisper. Identity theft, forgery, wire fraud, Vanessa continued calmly. Each carries significant prison time. Prison? Uncle Bob looked between me and my father. Don, what the hell did you do? Nothing. This is ridiculous. She's making things up because I asked her to move out. You didn't ask. My voice cut through his. You ordered. On my birthday, after I'd spent 8 years paying your bills. I pulled out more documents, bank statements, utility bills, all with my name, my payments, my money keeping their house running. 8 years of this, I said, spreading them across the table. Electric, water, internet, insurance, half the mortgage, while you told everyone I was freeloading. My mother was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. And when that wasn't enough, I continued, you took Mom's inheritance, the $15,000 from Grandma. Where did that go, Dad? His face went red. That's none of your business. It became my business when you kicked me out right before your fraudulent loan payment came due. You ungrateful! He stood abruptly, chair scraping back. After everything we did for you, we gave you life. And I paid you back 1,000 times over. I was standing now, too. I gave you everything, and you treated me like an ATM. Dawn. Pastor Green tried to intervene. Maybe we should all take a moment. No. Jake spoke from the corner, his voice quiet but firm. Let her talk, because I saw those loan papers too. In your truck. And Uncle Don? She's right. That's not her signature. My father turned on him. You little... Don't. Jake stepped forward. I love you, Uncle Don, but I can't watch you destroy Mia and pretend it's okay. The room erupted. Aunt Linda demanding to see the documents, Uncle Bob asking how much money was involved, my mother sobbing into her hands, Pastor Green trying to restore order. Through it all, my father stood silent, finally, his face a mask of rage and something else. Fear, because the truth was out and there was no putting it back. I didn't expect the Facebook post. The next morning, Riley showed me her phone. My father had posted in the Ridgeway community group, a page with over 3,000 members, basically the entire town. Some children are raised to be grateful. Some turn into snakes. After everything we sacrificed, working multiple jobs, going without so she could have everything, our daughter has abandoned us in our time of need. We're sick, struggling, and she's turned her back on us over a few bills. Please pray for our family as we navigate this heartbreak. The post already had over 200 comments. I scrolled through them, feeling sick. Ungrateful generation. They expect everything handed to them. My heart breaks for you, Dawn. We're praying. But then, wait, isn't this the same daughter who paid for your new roof last year? I remember seeing Mia shoveling your driveway alone in winter while you watched from inside. Dawn bragged at the hardware store about never paying household bills once Mia got her job. The tide wasn't completely with him. Look at this one. Riley pointed to a comment from someone named Margaret Chin. Dawn borrowed $500 from my husband 3 years ago. Still hasn't paid it back. Interesting that he's calling his daughter ungrateful. And another from Tom Reynolds. I've lived next door to the Brooks family for 15 years. I've watched Mia carry that household financially while being treated like hired help. There's more to this story. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Miss Brooks? This is Carrie Mills from the Ridgeway Gazette. I saw your father's post and I'm doing a story on... I hung up. That's going to keep happening, Vanessa said. She'd come over after I texted her about the post. Small town, big drama. The newspaper will eat this up. Should I respond? Post my side? Not yet. Let him dig his own hole. The people who know you will defend you. The ones who don't. Their opinion doesn't matter. But it felt like it mattered. Every comment calling me selfish felt like a small cut. Riley grabbed my phone. Stop reading them. Seriously. You know the truth. I know the truth. That's enough. Is it, though? That afternoon, Tom Reynolds knocked on Riley's door. I hope you don't mind, he said when I answered. I got your location from Jake. I wanted to give you something. He handed me a manila folder. Inside, photographs. My father stumbling out of a bar at 2 a.m., meeting with men in a parking lot, the same ones Jake had mentioned. Receipts from the casino in the next county over, dated over the past 2 years. Pawn shop tickets for items I recognized from our house. I started documenting about 2 years ago, Tom said quietly. After your father tried to borrow money from me. Said your mother needed surgery. I checked. There was no surgery, so I started paying attention. Why? Because I know what it looks like when someone's being exploited. My daughter... He paused, his voice thick. My daughter was in a similar situation before she died. Husband controlled everything, isolated her. I didn't see it until it was too late. He met my eyes. I won't make that mistake twice. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. There's more. He pulled out another document. 3 years ago, your father approached me about investing in a sure thing, some cryptocurrency scheme. I said no, but I kept the paperwork. Turns out it was a scam. He lost money, a lot of it. How much? Based on the documents, at least $30,000. I thought about the timeline. the increased pressure to contribute more, the mysterious emergencies that kept coming up. "He's been gambling," I said slowly, "trying to win back what he lost." "That would be my guess." Vanessa was studying the documents over my shoulder. "This is good. This establishes a pattern of financial irresponsibility and deception. It corroborates your story." "I have something too," I said, pulling up my laptop. I showed them my mother's bank statement, the inheritance that appeared and disappeared. Tom shook his head. "He took from his own wife." "She tried to help me." I told them about the check, the note. "She was trying to give me money to escape. He found out." "That's why he kicked you out," Vanessa said. "Punishment for both of you." A thought occurred to me. "The town hall meeting is tomorrow night, the monthly budget review." "So?" "So, it's open forum. Anyone can speak." I looked at Tom, at Vanessa, at Riley. "What if we tell the truth there, publicly, where he can't control the narrative?" Riley grinned. "I love it." "Are you sure?" Vanessa asked. "Once you do this, there's no taking it back. The whole town will know." "They're already talking about it. At least this way, they'll know the facts." Tom nodded slowly. "I'll speak. I'll tell them what I've seen." "I'll come," Riley said. "Moral support." Vanessa pulled out her phone. "Let me call a few people. If we're doing this, we're doing it right." Ridgeway Town Hall was a squat brick building that smelled like old paper and industrial cleaner. The monthly budget meeting typically drew maybe 20 people, mostly city council members, a few concerned citizens, and whoever was fighting about parking regulations that month. Tonight, the room was packed. Word had spread. Small towns ran on gossip, and the Brooks family drama was premium content. I sat in the back row with Riley, Vanessa, Tom, and Jake. My hands were shaking, so I kept them folded in my lap. My father sat near the front with my mother, Aunt Linda, and Pastor Green. He kept glancing back at me, his expression unreadable. Mayor Patricia Chin, no relation to the Margaret who'd commented on his post, worked through the usual agenda items: street repair budget, library funding, the debate about whether to allow chickens in residential zones. Then, "We'll now open the floor for community concerns. Please keep comments to 3 minutes." My father stood immediately. "I'd like to address something that's been weighing on our family and, I believe, our community values." His voice was measured, humble. "We're facing a crisis of respect for elders, of children honoring their parents. My daughter has publicly accused me of terrible things, and I think it's important that this community understand." "Point of order." Vanessa stood. "The speaker is discussing an ongoing criminal investigation. As his statements could be self-incriminating, I'd advise the mayor to exercise caution in allowing this to continue." Mayor Chin frowned. "Criminal investigation?" "Yes, identity theft and fraud. Currently under review by the Ridgeway Police Department." The room erupted in whispers. My father's face went purple. "This is a family matter." "Then perhaps it shouldn't be discussed in a public forum," Vanessa said coolly, "unless you'd like to make official statements that can be used as evidence." Mayor Chin banged her gavel. "Order! Mr. Brooks, if there's an ongoing investigation, I'd suggest you consult with legal counsel before making public statements." "I don't need a lawyer because I didn't do anything wrong." Dawn's voice rose. "My daughter is making up lies because I asked her to finally grow up and move out." "You didn't ask." I stood, my voice cutting through the room. "You ordered, after forging my signature on a $45,000 loan." Every head in the room swiveled toward me. "You want to talk about family values?" I walked down the aisle, my folder in hand. "Let's talk about them." I reached the front of the room and opened the folder, pulling out documents one by one and placing them on the table where everyone could see. "These are utility bills, 8 years of them, all in my name, all paid by me." I spread them out. Electric, water, gas, internet. Total approximately $87,000. Gasps from the audience. "These are mortgage statements. I paid half the mortgage for 8 years. That's another $64,000. Nah, car insurance, repairs, medical bills, groceries." More papers. "All documented, all paid by me." The room was dead silent. "And this?" I held up the forged loan document. is a loan taken out in my name 6 months ago. I never signed it. The signature is forged. The money is gone. I turned to my father. You want to talk about family values? How about not committing identity theft against your own child? My father lunged toward me. You ungrateful little... Jake and Tom were on their feet instantly, stepping between us. Sit down, Dawn, Tom said quietly. Mayor Chin banged her gavel. Mr. Brooks, sit down or you'll be removed. My father, breathing hard, slowly sank back into his seat. I turned to the room. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you because my father posted on Facebook that I abandoned my sick, struggling parents. The truth is, they kicked me out to cover up fraud. I pulled out the final document, the second mortgage taken in my name. He also took out a second mortgage on the house using my income information, without my knowledge or consent. That's another federal crime. Pastor Green stood. Mia, surely we can handle this privately. Why? I turned to him. So you can convince me to stay quiet, to honor my father while he destroys my credit and potentially my freedom? I looked around the room. Financial abuse is domestic violence. Economic control is slavery, and I'm done being silent about it. The room erupted in applause. Not everyone. Some people looked uncomfortable, uncertain. But enough. Tom Reynolds stepped forward. I'd like to speak. Mayor Chin nodded. Tom approached the microphone. I've lived next door to the Brooks family for 15 years. I've watched Mia work 2 jobs, come home exhausted, and still shovel her parents' driveway while they sat inside. I've watched her sacrifice everything while being treated like hired help. He paused. 2 years ago, Don Brooks approached me for a loan, said his wife needed surgery. There was no surgery. That's when I started documenting. He pulled out his folder and placed it on the table. Photos of Dawn at the casino, meeting with loan sharks, pawn shop receipts. I have 2 years of evidence showing a pattern of gambling, debt, and deception. My mother made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Don Brooks isn't a victim, Tom continued. He's an abuser, and this community needs to stop enabling him. After the meeting, I stood outside in the parking lot, surrounded by people I barely knew offering support, apologies for believing my father, stories of their own experiences with family financial abuse. Mayor Chin approached. Miss Brooks, I want you to know that the city doesn't take fraud lightly. If you need any documentation from us, we're happy to cooperate with the police investigation. Thank you. My father stormed past with Aunt Linda and Pastor Green, refusing to make eye contact, but my mother didn't follow them. She stood by their car, clutching her purse, looking small and lost. Jake went to her. Aunt Pat? I can't, she whispered. I can't get in that car with him. Dawn turned back. Patricia, get in the car. Now. She flinched, but didn't move. Mom, I said quietly. You don't have to go with him. Yes, she does, Dawn snarled. She's my wife. She's a person, Jake said, and she can make her own choices. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Pat looked up at my father, tears streaming down her face, and said the bravest thing I'd ever heard her say. No. What? No, I'm not getting in the car. Her voice was shaking but clear. I need some space. Dawn's face went through several colors. You're making a mistake. I've been making a mistake for 30 years. She looked at me. Mia, I need to talk to you. Privately. Please. Riley stepped forward. You can come with us. We went to a diner outside of town, away from the prying eyes of Ridgeway. Pat sat across from me in a back booth, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee she wasn't drinking. I gave you that money, she said finally. The $15,000. It was my inheritance from my mother. I was going to give it to you in cash so you could leave. Get your own apartment. Be free. Her voice broke. But he found the cashier's check before I could give it to you. That's when he decided we had to make you leave. Why? The question came out harsh. Why did you stay with him? Why did you let him do this to me? Because I'm a coward. Tears were streaming down her face now. Because he convinced me years ago that I was nothing without him. that I couldn't survive on my own. And I believed him. She looked up at me. But watching what he did to you, kicking you out on your birthday, stealing from you, lying about you, I can't anymore. I just can't. What are you saying? I'm saying you were right to fight back. You were right to report him, and I'm saying... She took a shaky breath. I'm saying I want to help. I'll testify about the loan, about the gambling, about everything. I'll tell the truth. I didn't know what to say. I know it doesn't fix anything, she continued. I know I should have protected you years ago. I should have left him the first time he showed me who he really was. But I didn't. And I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. I reached across the table and took her hand. Mom, what he did to you, what he made you believe about yourself, that's abuse too. She squeezed my hand, sobbing now. You can stay with Jake, I said. He has a spare room. You'll be safe there. What about the house? Let it burn. Detective Morrison called 3 days after the town hall meeting. Miss Brooks, we need you to come in and make a formal statement. We've reviewed the evidence you submitted and we have some questions. At the station, she led me to a small interview room. Another detective, Chris Santos, joined us. We've confirmed the loan is fraudulent, Morrison said. The signature analysis came back conclusive. We've also discovered 2 additional credit cards opened in your name. Did you authorize those? No. Total debt on those cards, $23,000. My stomach dropped. What? Your father has been using your identity for at least 3 years, possibly longer. How is that possible? I checked my credit report. Did you freeze your credit? No. Then he could have opened accounts and had statements sent to a different address. P.O. box, maybe. Detective Santos pulled up something on his laptop. We've also traced the loan money. Half went to an offshore gambling site. The rest to pay off a loan shark operation we've been investigating. Loan sharks? Operated out of Cleveland. They charge 30% interest weekly. Your father owes them approximately $75,000. My head was spinning. So that text I got, the warning about owing money to wrong people, was probably legitimate. These guys don't mess around. Morrison leaned forward. Miss Brooks, you may be in danger. Your father used your name, which means they may come after you for the debt. Can you do anything about that? We're building a case against the operation, but it takes time. In the meantime, I'd suggest varying your routine, staying with friends, being aware of your surroundings. This is insane. This is what happens when someone commits identity theft and deals with organized crime. Detective Santos closed his laptop. The good news is, we have enough to press charges against your father. Multiple counts of identity theft, fraud, forgery. He's looking at significant prison time. What about my mother? What about her? She's willing to testify. She's leaving him. Will she face charges too? Morrison and Santos exchanged a glance. Did she participate in the fraud? No. She didn't even know about most of it until recently, but she did know about the inheritance money he took from her. Taking money from a spouse isn't illegal if it's a joint account, Morrison said. But her testimony will be valuable, especially regarding his behavior, the gambling, the financial control. I nodded. What happens now? We finish the investigation, interview witnesses, build the case. Then we bring it to the prosecutor. She paused. But I need to warn you, your father hired a lawyer, Marcus something, expensive, from Columbus. They're going to fight this. Of course they were. Pat had been staying with Jake for a week when she asked to meet me for lunch. We met at the same diner outside town. She looked different, tired, but lighter somehow, like she'd put down something heavy she'd been carrying for years. I've been seeing a therapist, she said. Dr. Fletcher recommended someone who specializes in domestic abuse. How's that going? Hard. She smiled sadly. Really hard. Realizing how much I lost, how much I gave up, how much I normalized. She trailed off. But necessary. We ordered sandwiches we didn't really want and talked about nothing important for a while. The weather, Jake's new car project, whether the diner's pie was as good as everyone claimed. Finally, Pat said, I need to tell you something. About your father. About us. Okay. When we got married, I was 19. He was 21. I thought he was confident, take charge. My parents loved him. She stirred her iced tea absently. The first time he hit me, we'd been married 3 months. I'd bought the wrong brand of beer. I went very still. He apologized, cried, said it would never happen again. And it didn't, not physical violence anyway. But he found other ways. She looked up at me. He controlled the money, told me I was too stupid to handle finances, made me ask permission to buy groceries, checked receipts to make sure I hadn't wasted money. Mom, when you were born, I thought things would get better, and they did for a while. He was good with you when you were little, present, affectionate. She paused. But then you got older, started having opinions, started being a person instead of a doll he could control, and he couldn't handle that. When did it start? The financial stuff with me? Your first job. You were 16 working at the mall. He made you open a joint checking account. For emergencies, he said. But then he started using it. Just little things at first. Gas money. A dinner out. I told myself it was fine. You were family. Her voice cracked. But it wasn't fine. It was training you to accept being used. I thought about the spreadsheet on my laptop. 8 years of documented exploitation. But it had started earlier. Much earlier. Why didn't you stop him? Because I didn't know how to stop him without losing everything. The house, my marriage, my identity. She met my eyes. I know that's not an excuse. I know I should have protected you. I should have left him years ago, taken you with me, started over, but I was so beaten down I couldn't imagine surviving on my own. We sat in silence. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Pat said finally. I don't deserve that. I just needed you to understand that I see it now. I see what he did to both of us, and I'm going to testify against him. I'm going to tell the court everything. Mom, are you sure? I don't care what he does. I'm done being afraid. That night, Riley and I sat on her balcony with cheap wine and expensive cheese, her philosophy on treating yourself. Your mom's brave, Riley said, leaving after 30 years. That's not easy. You did it. After 5 years, and I almost died because I waited so long. I looked at her. You never told me the whole story. Riley was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the Ridgeway skyline, all 3 buildings of it. His name was Derek, she said finally. We met in nursing school. He was charming, ambitious. Everyone liked him. I thought I'd won the lottery. What happened? Control. It started small. Opinions about what I wore, who I talked to. Then he wanted access to my bank account. For budgeting, he said. Then he didn't want me working night shifts because I might meet someone. Then he didn't want me working at all. How did you get out? I didn't. He put me in the hospital. She pulled up her sleeve, showing me a faint scar along her forearm. 14 stitches. Told the ER I fell. The nurse didn't believe me. She gave me the number for a domestic violence shelter. I called it 3 months later in the middle of the night after he'd passed out drunk. They picked me up with nothing but my purse and the clothes I was wearing. Jesus, Riley. It took me 2 years to feel safe again. Another year to stop flinching when someone raised their voice. And even now, she took a drink of wine. Even now, sometimes I wake up in a panic thinking he's found me. Where is he now? Prison. Violated the restraining order one too many times. 3 years into a 5-year sentence. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be glad you got out before it got that bad. She turned to me. Your dad's abuse was financial and emotional, not physical, but it's still abuse. It still leaves scars, and you still deserve to heal from it. How do you heal from family? Same way you heal from anything. Time, therapy, setting boundaries, building a life that's actually yours. She smiled. And really good friends who'll let you crash on their couch indefinitely. I should start looking for my own place. You should, but not because you have to, because you want to. Vanessa called me the next morning, voice tight. We have a problem. What kind? Your father knows about the second mortgage investigation. He knows about the credit cards we discovered. He knows what your mother is going to testify to. How? Someone's been feeding him information. Someone close to you. My stomach dropped. Who? I'm not certain yet, but Detective Morrison mentioned that your father's lawyer has details about evidence that wasn't public, things only family would know. I thought about who I'd told. Riley, Vanessa, Jake, Tom, my mother. Jake wouldn't. I don't think it's Jake either. But think about who else might have access to information, who's been around lately, who's asked questions. And then it hit me. Aunt Linda. Your father's sister? She was at the intervention, at the town hall meeting, and she's been texting me all week asking how I'm doing, what the police are saying, whether I'm planning to testify. Call Jake. See if Linda's been asking him questions too. I called immediately. Jake answered on the first ring. Mia, what's up? Has Aunt Linda been talking to you, asking about the case? Pause. Yeah, actually. She called yesterday. Wanted to know what evidence the police had, whether I'd seen any of the loan documents, what Mom was planning to say in court. His voice changed. Why? Because someone's been feeding information to Dad. Details only we would know. You think it's Aunt Linda? Who else? She's his sister. She's always taken his side. Jake was quiet. Shit. She called me this morning, too. Wanted to know where Mom was staying. I didn't tell her, but... He paused. Mia, she asked me to install some kind of tracking app on your phone. Said she was worried about you, wanted to make sure you were safe. She wanted to track me? I said no, obviously. Told her it was creepy, but now... Now we know she's the leak. Vanessa was listening on speaker. This changes things. If Linda's been acting as his spy, we need to cut off her access to information. No more family updates. No more casual conversations. Assume everything you say to her goes directly to your father. Should I confront her? No, Vanessa said firmly. Let her think she's still fooling you. We can use this. How? Feed her false information. See if it makes its way to your father's lawyer. If it does, we've confirmed the leak and we can use it to discredit their case. You want to set a trap. I want to protect you. If Linda's willing to spy for your father, there's no telling what else she might do. Jake's voice was grim. I can't believe my aunt would do this. Family loyalty is complicated, I said. Especially in toxic families. She probably thinks she's doing the right thing. She's not. I know. After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone. My family was fracturing along fault lines I'd never quite seen before. Some people, Jake, Tom, even my mother, were standing with me. Others, Linda, Pastor Green, some of the extended family, were circling the wagons around my father. And in the middle of it all, I was trying to build a life that didn't revolve around their dysfunction. My phone buzzed, a text from Aunt Linda. Hi, sweetie, just checking in. How are you holding up? Must be so stressful with everything going on. Let me know if you need to talk. Love you. I stared at the message, thinking about Vanessa's advice. Feed false information. Set a trap. Me. Hey, Aunt Linda. Thanks for checking in. It's been hard, but I'm managing. The police said they're dropping the investigation, actually. Not enough evidence. I'm thinking about just letting it all go. 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing. Aunt Linda. Oh, that's wonderful news. I'm so glad you're being reasonable about this. Family is so important. Me. Yeah. I'm meeting with Dad's lawyer tomorrow to work out a settlement. Might just take the loss and move on. Aunt Linda. That's very mature of you, honey. What time is the meeting? Me. 2 p.m. at the courthouse. Just me and the lawyer trying to resolve things quietly. Aunt Linda. Good, good. Keep me posted. Love you. I screenshot the conversation and sent it to Vanessa and Jake. Me. Trap set. Vanessa. Now we wait and see if it gets back to the lawyer. Jake. I can't believe she fell for that. Me. People believe what they want to believe. By evening, Vanessa called back. I just got a call from your father's lawyer, Marcus Wright from Columbus. He wanted to know if you were serious about settling. Asked if I'd be at the 2 p.m. meeting tomorrow. Linda told him. What do we do now? I asked. Now? Vanessa's voice was hard. Now we make sure the prosecutor knows that the defense has been receiving privileged information through illegal channels, and we cut Linda off completely. No more information flow. Done. As I hung up, Riley came in from her shift. You look like you just solved a murder. Close. I just caught the family spy. Ooh, intrigue. Tell me everything. I told her about Linda, the trap, the confirmation. Cold, Riley said approvingly. Very cold. I love it. I don't feel good about it. You shouldn't, but you should feel smart. Because you are. She grabbed 2 wine glasses. Now let's celebrate your terrible family imploding while you rise from the ashes. Is that what I'm doing? Baby, that's exactly what you're doing. The knock came early. 3 sharp raps that meant official business. A process server handed me a manila envelope and left. My father was suing me for $200,000. The complaint was 12 pages of fiction. According to Donald Brooks, I had systematically stolen from the family, used utilities without permission, and launched a vindictive smear campaign when confronted. He claimed my payments were gifts, that I'd lived rent-free, that I was now extorting him. This is Darvo, Vanessa said when she arrived. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Classic abuser playbook. My phone buzzed. My mother. He's suing me too, for abandonment and alienation of affection. Wants the house, all assets. Claims I conspired with you. I'm scared. He's suing his own wife? Riley's voice was incredulous. Vanessa was already drafting responses. This is intimidation. He knows he's losing, so he's lashing out. These lawsuits won't go anywhere. We have documentation, and his criminal charges undermine everything. But it's going to be a fight. 3 days later, 2 men cornered me in the Save Mart parking lot. Black SUV, expensive suits, the kind of presence that cleared a space around them. Mia Brooks? The tall one's voice was pleasant and cold. We represent Columbia Financial Services. Your father used your name as collateral. That loan is fraudulent. I've reported it. Fraudulent or not, someone needs to pay. $53,000 with interest. You have 2 weeks. Or what? Or we start seizing assets, destroying your credit. He leaned close. Your daddy made a mess. Someone has to clean it up. I called Detective Morrison from my car, hands shaking. That's extortion, she said. Don't engage. Document everything. And Mia, change your routine. If they found you at the grocery store, they're watching. I should have told Riley about the loan sharks immediately. 2 days later, I came home to her apartment door hanging open, frame splintered. The living room was destroyed. Couch slashed, my laptop smashed, books thrown everywhere. On the wall in red spray paint, pay up or else. Riley appeared from the bedroom, phone pressed to her ear. Police are coming. She looked at me, eyes apologetic and firm. Mia, I love you, but I have a child who stays here weekends. You can't stay anymore. This is too dangerous. The guilt crushed me. You're right. God, Riley, I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. This isn't your fault, but you need somewhere safe. Vanessa arrived, took one look, and made the decision. You're staying with me. Security system doorman, and I'm armed, non-negotiable. Detective Morrison examined the spray paint, her expression grim. This is escalating. We can offer protective custody. I can't hide. I have a job. You have a target on your back. Your father is desperate, and the people he owes are dangerous. By morning, word had spread. The town fractured down the middle. Pastor Green preached about forgiveness and family reconciliation, his message clear to anyone who knew the subtext. But Margaret Chin organized a legal defense fund at Nell's Diner. 53 people donated. Tom Reynolds wrote a letter to the Ridgeway Gazette, When Family Becomes Abuse. It detailed 15 years of witnessing my exploitation. Some restaurants refused to serve me. Others refused to serve my father. Jake called, exhausted. Dad's family is demanding I choose sides. Uncle Bob says if I testify against Dad, I'm out. But they already lost me when they decided supporting a criminal was more important than the truth. I'd just finished therapy, walking to my car in the afternoon sun when I saw him. My father. leaning against my Honda, face twisted with rage. "We need to talk." I stopped 10 feet away, hand on my phone. "No, we don't." "You're destroying this family over nothing. Identity theft isn't nothing. I'm your father. You owe me." "I owe you?" My voice rose. "I gave you 8 years. $180,000. My credit, my reputation, my peace of mind. What more could I possibly owe you?" He moved close, too close. His hand slammed my car window. "You ungrateful bitch! After everything I did—" "You gave me life? That's biology, not a gift. It doesn't entitle you to steal from me." His voice dropped, venomous. "I know things about you. Those panic attacks in college, the depression, the medications. All documented. A judge will see a history of mental instability." My blood went cold. "You've been accessing my medical records?" "I have a right." "That's HIPAA violation." "Prove it, because I'll make sure every person in that courtroom knows you're crazy, that this is some delusional vendetta." I called 911, keeping my eyes on him. "Yes, I need police at 847 Medical Plaza." He grabbed for my phone. I jerked back. It clattered to the pavement. "You'll regret turning against me." "Sir, step back." Security guard, hand on radio. My father glared at me once more, then stormed to his truck. I gave the 911 operator his license plate. "The man who threatened me is leaving in a blue Ford F-150. Police arrived within minutes. Detective Morrison showed up shortly after. "We're arresting him for violating the protective order," she said. Then, carefully neutral, "Miss Brooks, we found something in his truck. You need to see this." At the station, evidence covered a table. Photos. Dozens of them. Me leaving my house, at the grocery store, walking into Dr. Fletcher's office, having coffee with Jake, coming out of Riley's apartment, time-stamped, dated, months of surveillance. We also found this. Morrison showed me a notebook, my father's handwriting, pages of tracking my movements. Monday, 8:15 a.m., leaves for work. Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., therapy appointment Wednesday, lunch with Jake, discussed case. Months of notes. And then, the plan. Get medical records. Patricia has HIPAA release from when M was minor. Document erratic behavior. Find witnesses to testify about instability. If necessary, Baker Act evaluation. Discredit before trial. He'd been planning to have me involuntarily committed for psychiatric evaluation, to frame me as mentally unstable so no one would believe my accusations. He was going to try to institutionalize me, I whispered. This is stalking, harassment, attempted witness intimidation. Morrison's jaw was tight. Combined with everything else, your father is facing serious prison time. How long has he been following me? Based on the earliest photo, 4 months. Since before he kicked you out. My mother was waiting at Vanessa's when I got back. Did you know? I asked. About the medical records? The HIPAA release. I signed it when you were 16 for emergencies. I never thought. She grabbed my hands. Last week, I found photos in his truck. When I confronted him, he said he was gathering evidence for the lawsuit. I didn't know it was this extensive. He kicked me out to punish you, I said slowly. You were trying to leave him. She nodded, crying. I'd been to see a divorce lawyer, was going to use Grandma's money to get my own apartment. He found out, so he took the money and decided we both needed to be punished. The prosecutor's office smelled like bad coffee. For 3 hours, I answered questions. ADA Jennifer Walsh was gentle. My father's lawyer, Marcus Wright, was not. You lived rent-free, Wright said. No formal agreement. Yet you expect compensation for voluntary contributions? The utilities were in my name, I replied. I was legally responsible. That's not voluntary. You've had therapy for anxiety and depression, correct? Objection, Vanessa snapped. Medical history is irrelevant to fraud. It speaks to credibility. My mental health, I said steadily, doesn't change whether my father forged my signature. The handwriting analysis proves that. The bank records prove the money disappeared. Facts don't care about my therapy. I saw it in Wright's eyes. He knew he was losing. 2 weeks later, My mother took the stand, trembling in a blue dress I'd never seen. "How long have you been married to the defendant?" 31 years. ADA Walsh was gentle. "Can you describe your husband's relationship with money?" "Donald controlled everything. I had an allowance. He checked every receipt. When Mia got her first job, he insisted on a joint account. Started using her money without asking. If she questioned it, he'd say she owed us for raising her." "Did you know about the fraudulent loan?" "Not until 2 months ago. I found the paperwork. When I confronted him, he was angry I'd found out." Her voice cracked. "He'd lost money gambling, said using Mia's name was the only way to get money fast." "What happened to your mother's inheritance?" "I was going to give it to Mia to help her escape. I'd seen a divorce lawyer, but he found the check before I could give it to her. He took the money and decided to punish us both. He kicked Mia out on her birthday, planned punishment for both of us." The courtroom was silent except for Pat's crying. Tom Reynolds testified about the gambling, the attempted fraud, years of witnessing my exploitation. Margaret Chin testified about the $500 loan my father never repaid. Pastor Green's wife, Sandra, testified that Don had tried to borrow from the church building fund. "There were no medical expenses. He lied. When I refused, he threatened to make sure my husband knew I was uncooperative." Columbia Financial Services testified, "We never issued a loan to Mia Brooks. Donald Brooks used forged ID, forged signatures, and falsified income. Textbook identity theft." Then Jake took the stand with the notebook he'd found. It was in Uncle Don's glove compartment, a journal where he tracked everything. He read entries, voice shaking. "March 2018, Mia got raise. $52,000 now, could extract more per month." July 2018, M paid for roof repairs without asking, training working. December 2019, M mentioned wanting own apartment, need to increase pressure to keep her dependent. June 2023, loan approved in M's name. She won't find out until payment due. By then, we'll have her out of house. The courtroom was dead silent. Jake flipped to the final entry. October 2023, Patricia planning to leave, found divorce papers, will use M's inheritance money and remove M from equation. 2 problems, 1 solution. He looked at his uncle. "You didn't kick her out because she was freeloading. You kicked her out because she was evidence. Because you needed both of them gone before they realized what you'd done." The jury was out for 3 hours. When they filed back in, none looked at my father. On the count of identity theft, how do you find? Guilty. Fraud? Guilty. Forgery? Guilty. 7 counts, all guilty. Judge Morrison addressed my father. "Mr. Brooks, you systematically defrauded your own daughter, forged her signature, stole her identity to cover gambling debts, stalked and intimidated her." She paused. "You didn't just steal her money. You stole years of her life. You made her question her own sanity." She consulted her notes. "I'm sentencing you to 5 years in federal prison on fraud charges, consecutive with 3 years for identity theft. You will pay full restitution of $180,000, plus $50,000 damages, plus all legal fees." The gavel fell. The civil case was almost anticlimactic. My father's countersuit was dismissed as frivolous and malicious. "Miss Brooks is awarded $180,000 in restitution, plus $50,000 punitive damages, plus $23,000 legal fees," Judge Morrison ruled. "Defendant's assets will be liquidated to satisfy this judgment," which meant the house. After court, my mother and I stood in the parking lot. "I'm going to lose the house," Pat said quietly. "What if we made a deal?" I said. "You keep 50% of the house equity, about $40,000, enough for an apartment." "Mia, that's too much. 1 condition, complete therapy, at least a year, and help other women in your situation. Volunteer at the domestic abuse shelter." She stared at me. "You'd give up half?" "I don't want to be like him. You're a victim too, Mom. You deserve a second chance." She pulled me into a fierce hug. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not," I said, smiling. "But you're stuck with me anyway." That night, I sat on Vanessa's balcony with Riley, Jake, Tom, Vanessa, and my mother, wine and pizza between us. To surviving toxic families, Riley raised her glass. To choosing yourself, Vanessa added. To the truth, Jake said. To starting over, my mother said quietly. To never apologizing for saving yourself, I finished. We clinked glasses as the sun set over Ridgeway. My father was in jail. My mother was free. My credit was being restored. My life was mine again. It wasn't perfect. There would be years of therapy, of rebuilding, of learning to trust again. But I was free. Finally, completely free. And that was enough. 3 days after sentencing, I met my mother at a coffee shop outside Ridgeway. She looked smaller somehow, older, but there was something different in her posture. She sat straighter. I've been thinking about your offer, she said, stirring her coffee without drinking it. 50% of the house equity, the therapy condition, the volunteering. And? I accept. All of it. She met my eyes. But I need you to know, I'm not doing it because you're making me. I'm doing it because I should have done it 30 years ago. We sat in silence for a moment. I saw Dr. Fletcher yesterday, Pat continued. Started therapy. She recommended a group for domestic abuse survivors. Her voice cracked. Sitting in that circle, hearing other women's stories, I realized I've been a victim and an enabler. I let him hurt you to protect myself. That's unforgivable. Mom, no, let me finish. She grabbed my hand. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to do better, to be the mother I should have been. You tried to help me escape. That check, after 30 years of standing by, too little, too late. Tears streamed down her face. But I'm here now, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure no other daughter goes through what you did. I squeezed her hand. Then that's enough. Detective Morrison called 2 weeks later with unexpected news. The men who broke into your friend's apartment? We caught them. Turns out your father's case helped us bust a larger predatory lending operation. 23 victims, $2.3 million in fraudulent loans. What does that mean for me? The loans in your name are being canceled. Your credit will be fully restored, and the men who threatened you are facing federal charges: racketeering, extortion, intimidation. I sat down hard. It's really over? The criminal part, yes. Your father gave us information about the operation in exchange for... She paused. Well, he tried to negotiate a reduced sentence. The prosecutor declined. Good. Miss Brooks, I want you to know, your case helped protect a lot of people. Other victims came forward after seeing your courage. You probably saved lives. After hanging up, I stared at my phone for a long time. I'd been so focused on my own survival, I hadn't considered the ripple effects. Maybe that's what healing looked like. Not just escaping the damage, but preventing it from spreading. 6 weeks after the trial, Ridgeway held a town hall meeting on financial abuse awareness. Mayor Chin had organized it, invited experts from Columbus, set up resource tables. The room was packed. We failed Mia Brooks, the mayor said in her opening remarks. Many of us saw signs of exploitation for years. We said nothing because it was family business. But financial abuse is everyone's business. Silence enables abusers. Tom Reynolds spoke about recognizing warning signs. Margaret Chin discussed how communities can support victims without judgment. Then the mayor looked at me. Miss Brooks, would you like to say anything? I hadn't planned to speak. My hands were shaking as I approached the microphone. For 8 years, I told myself I was helping my family, I began. I didn't realize I was being exploited until it was almost too late. Financial abuse doesn't look like bruises. It looks like obligation, like duty, like love. I saw heads nodding. If you're in a situation where someone controls your money, monitors your spending, or makes you feel guilty for having boundaries, that's abuse. If someone uses your identity without permission, takes from joint accounts without discussion, or threatens you economically, that's abuse. My voice grew stronger. And if you're someone watching this happen to a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, say something, ask questions, offer help, because silence protects abusers, not victims. The applause started slowly, then grew. People I barely knew were crying. After, a young woman approached me. Maybe 23, 24. My boyfriend controls all our money, says it's easier if he handles it, but I have to ask permission to buy groceries. Her voice was barely a whisper. Is that what you meant? Yes. I gave her the card for the domestic violence shelter. This is abuse, and you deserve better. She clutched the card like a lifeline. Thank you. Watching her walk away, I realized this was what surviving meant. Not just escaping, but helping others escape too. Riley invited me to dinner at her apartment, the new one she'd moved to after the break-in. Bigger, safer, with actual security. I got a letter, she said, pouring wine with shaking hands. From Derek. From prison. Her ex-husband, the man who'd put her in the hospital. He wants to reconnect when he gets out next year. Says he's changed, found God, completed anger management. She laughed bitterly. Says he wants a relationship with our son. What are you going to do? 6 months ago, I would have panicked, maybe even considered it because that's what he trained me to do. Doubt myself, give him chances, believe his promises. She looked at me. But watching you fight back, seeing you refuse to accept their narrative, seeing you choose yourself, it gave me permission to do the same. What does that mean? It means I'm filing for full custody, getting a restraining order that extends past his release date, and I'm writing him back with 2 words, fuck off. She smiled. Okay, maybe I'll be more professional, but that's the message. I raised my glass. To boundaries. To choosing ourselves. She clinked her glass against mine. And to friends who show us it's possible. I signed the lease on a 1-bedroom apartment on Elm Street in January. Small, drafty, with a kitchen the size of a closet. It was perfect. My furniture was mostly second-hand. A couch from Goodwill I'd reupholstered with Vanessa's help. A kitchen table Jake had built from reclaimed wood. Bookshelves Tom had found at an estate sale. No photos of my father, but lots of new ones. Me and Riley at her new place. Jake's wedding last month. My mother at her volunteer orientation. Tom and me at the community garden he'd started. On my desk, acceptance letter from the Ohio Victim Advocacy Certification Program. I'd enrolled in night classes planning to formalize what I'd been doing informally, helping other financial abuse victims navigate the legal system. My phone buzzed. Vanessa. Dinner at my place Friday? Bringing someone I want you to meet. I smiled. Vanessa had been dropping hints about someone from her kickboxing class. It was nice seeing her happy. Me. Absolutely. Should I bring wine? Vanessa. Always. I looked around my apartment, truly mine, paid for with money I'd earned, decorated with things I'd chosen. No one could take this from me. No one could make me feel guilty for having it. This was what freedom looked like. Every Thursday, I met my mother for lunch at the diner. It had become our ritual, neutral ground, no expectations, just 2 people learning each other again. I got my 6-month chip at group yesterday, Pat said, showing me a small token. 6 months since leaving him. How's it feel? Terrifying, liberating, both. She stirred her soup. I got a job, part-time at the library. It's not much, but it's mine. My name on the paycheck, my money in my account. That's huge, Mom. I also started volunteering at the shelter, 3 days a week. I help women fill out protection order paperwork, navigate the legal system, find resources. She looked up. Last week, I helped a woman who'd been married 40 years. Her husband controlled everything, her clothes, her food, when she could leave the house. She thought it was normal because it happened gradually. Like you. Like me, she nodded. But I told her what Dr. Fletcher told me. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's acceptable, and she cried, said no one had ever given her permission to be angry before. We ate in comfortable silence. Mia, I need to tell you something. Pat's voice was careful. Your father's lawyer contacted me. Don wants to see me, says he needs to apologize. My stomach tightened. What did you say? I said no, because he doesn't get to decide when I'm ready. He doesn't get access to me just because he wants it. She met my eyes. Dr. Fletcher says I'm allowed to protect my peace. That no is a complete sentence. I'm proud of you, Mom. I'm trying to be worthy of that. Thanksgiving was small and chaotic and perfect. Riley's apartment, since mine was too small. Jake brought his wife, Emma, and their newborn. I was godmother. Tom brought his famous apple pie. Vanessa brought her girlfriend, Christine, and enough wine for an army. My mother came late, nervous, carrying a dish she'd made herself. I wasn't sure if I should come, Pat said quietly. If I'd be welcome. Your family, Riley said simply. The chosen kind. We squeezed around Riley's table, passing dishes and swapping stories. Jake told embarrassing childhood tales about me. Tom shared gardening disasters. Vanessa and Christine debated the best self-defense moves. Riley's son showed everyone his Halloween candy stash. Normal, messy, real. When it was time for the traditional "What are you grateful for" round, Tom went first. I'm grateful for the daughter I found in my old age, for purpose when I thought I had none left. Jake, for learning that family isn't who you're born to, but who stands with you when it matters. Riley, for the sister I never had who showed me it's possible to survive and thrive. Vanessa, for brave women who fight back. They make the world safer for everyone. My mother's voice shook. For a second chance I don't deserve but will honor every day. Then everyone looked at me. For all of you, I said, for showing me that love isn't supposed to hurt, that family is supposed to be safe, that I was always enough exactly as I am. The promotion came in December, senior data analyst with a raise and a small team to manage. But the work I was proudest of happened after hours. I'd started a blog. The Cost of Family, Recognizing Financial Abuse. It had gained traction, hundreds of followers, dozens of stories shared in the comments, people finding their voice, their courage, their exit plans. A woman in Michigan recognized the signs and left her husband. A man in Texas reported his mother for draining his accounts. A college student in Oregon realized her boyfriend's budgeting help was actually control. I couldn't save everyone, but I could plant seeds. In January, a local news station wanted to interview me for a segment on family exploitation, then a podcast, then a request to speak at a domestic violence conference in Columbus. You're becoming a voice, Vanessa said, reading through my speaking invitation. An important one. I'm just telling the truth. That's revolutionary when everyone else stays silent. My first client came in February. A 26-year-old woman whose parents had taken out student loans in her name without permission. She sat in the coffee shop, hands shaking, convinced she was overreacting. You're not, I said, showing her the documentation process I'd learned. This is fraud, and you deserve to fight back. But they're my parents. I know. That's what makes it so hard. I showed her the photos from my own case. But love doesn't steal. Care doesn't control. Family doesn't weaponize your sense of obligation. She filed a police report the next week. 1 year, 2 months, and 17 days after my 30th birthday, I drove to Mansfield Correctional Institution to see my father. I'd put it off for months, ignored his letters requesting visits, but Dr. Fletcher had suggested it might give me closure I didn't know I needed. You don't owe him this, she'd said, but you might owe it to yourself, to say what needs to be said. To see him as he truly is, not the father you wished he'd been. The visiting room was exactly what movies promised. Harsh lighting, uncomfortable chairs, the smell of industrial cleaner. Donald Brooks sat across from me looking older, grayer, smaller in his prison uniform. Mia, his voice cracked. Thank you for coming. I said nothing. I've been in therapy, he continued. Mandatory, but I'm trying. Learning about, he gestured vaguely, about patterns. My father was like this with me. Did you know that? No. Controlled everything. Made me feel like I owed him for existing. I swore I'd never be like him. He laughed bitterly. Look how that turned out. Is this an apology? I want it to be. He leaned forward. I'm sorry for what I did. The loans, the manipulation, all of it. I was drowning, and I pulled you under instead of learning to swim. I studied his face, looking for sincerity. Found it, mixed with self-pity and the kind of regret that comes from facing consequences, not from genuine understanding. Do you know why I'm really here? I asked. To hear me apologize? No, to tell you that I'm okay, that despite everything you did, I survived. I built a life. I'm happy. I let that sink in. Your abuse didn't destroy me. It taught me exactly who not to be. His face crumpled. I'm not here to forgive you, I continued. I might never forgive you. That's not what this is. Then what is it? It's goodbye. It's me choosing to stop carrying your shame, choosing to remember you as you were when I was 5 and believed you were a hero, and accepting that you became something else. I don't understand, Dawn said. I know, that's the problem. You never did. I pulled out the photo my mother had given me, the one from my college graduation. Do you remember this day? He nodded. You told me you were proud, that I was going to do great things, that I was your daughter and nothing would change that. I set the photo on the table between us. I believed you. I meant it. Maybe, or maybe you were already calculating how useful I could be. When did it start, Dad? When did I stop being your daughter and become your solution? He couldn't answer. It doesn't matter, I said, because I'm taking back what you stole. Not just the money, the years, the trust, the belief that I was fundamentally unlovable unless I was useful. You were never... Don't. My voice was sharp. Don't rewrite history because it's convenient now. You made me feel like I owed you everything. You exploited that feeling until there was nothing left. And when I finally set a boundary, you tried to destroy me. Silence. But here's what you didn't count on. I'm stronger than you taught me to be. I survived you, and now I'm helping other people survive too. I saw your interview, he said quietly, on the news. You looked good, happy. I am. Because you're free of me. Because I'm free of the lie you sold me. That family meant sacrifice until there was nothing left. That love meant giving up everything. That I was only valuable if I was useful. I stood. I'm not here for reconciliation. I'm here to say I see you clearly now. Not the father I wanted, the man you chose to be, and I'm walking away from both. I didn't send the letter until I was back in my apartment, sitting at my kitchen table with tea going cold. Donald Brooks, this will be my final communication with you. I'm not writing this because you deserve an explanation, but because I need to close this chapter completely. I grieve the father you could have been, the one who existed in scattered moments, teaching me to ride a bike, helping with math homework, calling me princess with love instead of mockery. That father was real to me once, but he was also a mask for who you truly were. You taught me what not to be, how not to love, how not to treat people you're supposed to protect. In that way, you gave me something valuable, a perfect template of dysfunction to avoid. I don't forgive you. I might never, but I'm releasing the anger that's been poisoning me. I'm letting go of the fantasy that you'll suddenly understand, suddenly change, suddenly become the father I needed. You are who you've chosen to be, and I am who I've chosen to become despite you. I won't be visiting again. I won't be accepting calls or letters. This boundary isn't cruelty, it's self-preservation. The kind you taught me I didn't deserve, but that I've learned is essential. I hope you find peace in whatever way is possible for you, but I won't sacrifice my peace to give you absolution. Mia. I sealed the envelope and dropped it in the mailbox on my way to Dr. Fletcher's office. How do you feel? She asked after I told her about the visit, the letter. Empty, but the good kind, like finally putting down something heavy I'd been carrying too long. And your father? How did he seem? Broken, but not in a way that makes me want to fix him. I paused. I think that's growth. That's definitely growth. My 31st birthday fell on a Wednesday. I took the day off work. Riley threw a surprise party that evening. My apartment packed with people who'd become family. Cake from the good bakery this time, with my name spelled correctly. Speech, Jake called out. I didn't prepare. Wing it! I looked around the room. Tom by the window with his camera, documenting everything. Vanessa and Christine laughing in the corner. Riley's son showing my mother his new toy. Jake and Emma with their baby. Last year on my birthday, I was kicked out of my childhood home. I began. I thought it was the worst day of my life. Turns out it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Hear, hear! Because it forced me to stop accepting crumbs and calling it love, to stop sacrificing myself and calling it duty, to stop being useful and start being whole. I raised my glass. Thank you for showing me what family actually means. Not obligation, not debt, just showing up, just caring, just being here. We sang off key and ate too much cake and laughed until my face hurt. This was what I'd been missing for 30 years. Not a perfect family, a real one. 2 months later, I stood in front of 300 people at the Ohio Coalition Against Domestic Violence annual conference. Financial abuse is domestic violence, I began. But we don't see it that way because there are no visible bruises. The scars are on credit reports, bank statements, employment records. The trauma is in anxiety about money, inability to trust, difficulty setting boundaries. I told my story. Not all of it, the version polished for public consumption, but enough. If you take nothing else from this, remember, you don't owe anyone access to your peace. Not parents, not partners, not siblings, not friends. But their family is not a magic spell that overrides your boundaries. You are allowed to save yourself. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, people lined up to talk to me, to share their stories, to ask for help, for resources, for hope. A woman in her 50s. My son has been stealing from me for 20 years. I didn't know I could report him. A man in his 30s. My wife controls all our money. I have to ask permission to buy lunch. Is that abuse? A teenager. My parents take my whole paycheck, say I owe them for raising me. I gave them resource cards, hotline numbers, the names of good lawyers. You're making a difference, Vanessa said as we drove home. One person at a time. That's how change happens. 6 weeks later, my mother knocked on my apartment door with a cardboard box. I've been going through storage, she said, sorting what to keep, what to let go. I thought you might want these. Inside, family photos. But not the torn ones I'd found in the trash. Different ones. Real ones. Me at 3, covered in mud and grinning. Elementary school art projects. Report cards. Birthday cards I'd made her over the years, carefully preserved. I hid these, Pat said quietly. When he started destroying things, I hid the ones that mattered in a storage unit he didn't know about, paid for it with grocery money I skimmed. Underneath, photos of young Don with his father. Similar dynamics captured in faded Polaroids. A boy trying desperately to please a man who was never pleased. I'm not excusing what he did, Pat said, but I thought you should see. The cycle goes back generations. He was a victim too. Then he became the victimizer. I studied the photos. Don at my age, same tired eyes, same desperate-to-please expression I recognized from my own mirror. You stopped the cycle, Pat continued. You broke the pattern. That photo. She pointed to one of me speaking at the conference. That's what breaking generational trauma looks like. We both broke it, Mom. You broke it. I'm just cleaning up the mess I helped create. But she smiled. Though I'm getting better at that part. That night, I made tea and spread the photos across my coffee table, picked through 30 years of memories, sorting truth from fiction. Some photos went in a shoebox for keeping. Others I couldn't bear to look at yet. A few I burned in the kitchen sink, watching my father's face curl and blacken. One I kept separate, me at 5, sitting on Don's shoulders at the county fair. Both of us laughing, cotton candy in hand, genuinely happy in that frozen moment. I'd grieve this version of him, the father who existed in fragments, who was real for brief moments before the mask slipped. That grief was allowed. It didn't negate the abuse. It didn't mean I had to forgive. It just meant I was human. I made another cup of tea and opened my laptop. My blog had a new message. I read your story. I'm 19. My parents have been taking my entire paycheck since I was 16. I thought it was normal. Reading your words, I realized it's not. I'm scared, but I'm going to report them. Thank you for showing me it's possible to survive. I responded immediately with resources, hotlines, a personal message of support. This was my life now. By day, data analyst. By night, survivor helping other survivors find their voices. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic. My phone buzzed, Riley sending a meme, Jake sharing baby photos, Tom asking if I wanted to help at the community garden this weekend. I looked around my small apartment, at the second-hand furniture I'd chosen, the photos of people who loved me without conditions, the books I'd bought without asking permission, the life I'd built from scratch after everything fell apart. I was 31 years old. I had $47,000 in savings, money I'd earned, controlled, and chose how to spend. I had a job I was good at and volunteer work that mattered. I had therapy every other week and friends who showed up. I had a mother learning to be whole and a father in prison learning nothing would erase his choices. I had a future that was entirely mine. I opened a blank document and started typing. Chapter 1: The Cost of Family. On my 30th birthday, my parents kicked me out. This is the story of how I took my life back. Mia Brooks published The Cost of Family, a memoir, to critical acclaim. Runs a nonprofit helping financial abuse victims. Dating a kind professor who respects boundaries. Happy. Patricia Brooks, certified domestic violence counselor. Runs support groups. Lives in a small apartment she pays for herself. Learning to be alone without being lonely. Healing. Riley Thompson. Full custody of son. Ex-husband violated restraining order, back in prison, promoted to head nurse. In therapy, thriving. Jake Brooks. Married with 2 kids. Started foundation in Mia's name for family exploitation victims. Cut off toxic relatives without regret. Tom Reynolds. Honorary grandfather to Mia. Published photography book about the community garden. Found purpose in old age. Vanessa Kim, partner at firm specializing in family law. Married Christine, still Mia's lawyer and friend. Donald Brooks, year 3 of 8-year sentence. Writes letters no one reads. Learning regret feels different from accountability. Final image. Mia on the porch of her new house, first home she's purchased. Keys in hand. Sunrise painting the sky gold. No looking back. Only forward. Some people spend their lives running from where they came from. I spent mine building where I'm going, and for the first time, I'm not looking over my shoulder.